Hi, this is Chris Day, Managing Editor of the Florence Morning News and scnow.com. I recently sat down with Florence One School Superintendent Richard O'Malley to talk about projects for 2023. Let's take a look at that interview. I know we've got North Vista construction going on. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe the farm and anything else that has construction involved?
Well, currently those are our two projects that are currently underway. I'll start with the farm if I could. So we purchased that property and we are set for a May opening. We're currently trying to put together the greenhouses, the land that we'll use for farming, as well as the culinary portion of the inside of the building that will come later on in 2023. So we expect to have an opening and available for courses and utilization this summer and in the 23-24 school year. For North Vista, that project is currently underway. We should be seeing some foundations being poured very shortly, and that'll take about 2 years to construct that school. And then in the second year, we will add the gym onto the current North Vista. So when Williams moves over, they'll have a gym of the same size as the other middle schools. And so that'll be a 2-year project that is currently going on. And then also, once the students are out of the current Williams middle school, or sooner, depending on how it's constructed, we'll start on the area for the ball fields and hopefully the aquatic center at that time as well.
Okay. Now back to the farm. Tell me a little bit, just in general, about what the farm is and what it's going to be doing for the school system.
So we are taking that concept of what they have at Briggs and sort of putting it on steroids from a school district standpoint. So it'll be our way of growing produce, farm to table, and inside will be our culinary education component to it as well. We hope to add some veterinary services. There's a lucky dog practice going on down the street that we hope to partner with later on. But it'll be everything about growing crops in large greenhouses to preparing that food in our culinary. So we hope to have both students involved in the growing process of the agriculture as well as the culinary arts within inside the building. And hopefully as the summer approaches and with that traffic that comes along heading to Myrtle Beach, maybe sell some of our produce to those that are passing by heading on vacation that want maybe some fresh produce as well. The future will be adding and partnering with a neighboring farm for equestrian and adding that to our Advantage Academy options. And also they do some work with our students with special needs and some horse therapy. And so we'll be adding that as well to the components of that entire project. So it's a pretty comprehensive look at what we're doing at the farm, whether it be agriculture, culinary, or equestrian as well.
Okay. And North Vista Elementary, the construction on that, just can you go a little bit into the size and everything that the new building is going to be? And
it's approximately, I believe, 65,000 square feet. It'll house, it's being built for 700 students, in which North Vista really hasn't had in 10 years. I think their highest was close to that, but their enrollment has declined every year. I think they're below 500 now. So that elementary school will have its own gym, but not a full-size basketball court, but it won't have bleacher components. So the middle schools could use that as well for the winter sports. Say if there's a boys basketball game going on, the girls could still practice, or a wrestling team could still practice. So we have that ability to utilize the gym. But That will take about 2 years, and we hope to have them switched over and in a new school within 2 years.
Okay. Now, at last week's meeting, you guys talked about the School of Innovation and the nursing school and some renovations to the Pointer. Yeah, and I know that's got through an application process and all that, but is that something that might start to blossom in 2023?
Yes, we hope so. As you said, at the December Board of Trustees meeting, the first step in the process was to have the local board approve the application. It now goes to the State Board of Education for their approval, because we did ask for some waivers in that, which would be anything from teacher certification to the work day, to the calendar, to our 8% money on how we wish to house that. And we look to house that at the Pointer building, which is about 113 years old, and renovate that to create this, I think, pretty innovative way of looking at workforce development just in the healthcare profession and all the jobs that encompass working in a healthcare system. So we're optimistic that we'll get some sort of hopefully approval in early winter. I just say that just because there's a turnover at the state board and the state superintendency, so that may play into this as a little bit of delay. So we're hoping in no later than February that they'll hear our application and we'll have some direction in which way to go.
And now this is in partnership with McLeod Health, and they're going to be somewhat instrumental in putting together the teaching and curriculum as well as the school district, right?
Yes, McLeod has been a partner from the beginning on this concept to try to assist us in putting this workforce development together. There's the beginning partners. We hope once we're up and running that other people see the value in it, and the other healthcare partners and vendors that are part of the system will be part of it as well. But McLeod has again been instrumental in designing this on, in the healthcare field, what is required for just a high school diploma, the jobs that just have a high school diploma, jobs that need a certification, jobs that just need 2 years, jobs that do need a 4-year degree. And then we feel that once students are in the system, and even if they're just there for a 2-year degree, they'll see the ability of how to move up within the system, that, hey, I only need 2 more years of school and I can be at this level, and so forth. Or I can get a job right out of high school and then work towards a certification or another degree to advance along the way. So we really think this is an interesting way to help the healthcare industry and our students, and basically the PD region, with workforce development.
And you just mentioned the PD region, but this School of Innovation for Healthcare, that will be available to all students in the PD, right?
Well, initially it'll be for Florence
Right.
1, and then we wish to expand to the PD region, because that's sort of the service area for McLeod as well.
Okay. Now, with Pointer being 113 years old, there's going to be a lot of just updating and electrical, and especially to house healthcare equipment and things like that, and probably HVAC too. So it's going to be a major project.
We think it's a little bit more detailed than McClenaghan building. McClenaghan was 100 years old, but with this and the specifics that we want and what we want to put in there, the electrical and HVAC is probably where a lot of the money will have to go, because of the nature of the technology and equipment that we want to put in there.
Okay. Now, one of the meetings I was at, it may have been the Fellows in Education meeting, it talked about maybe having some teacher housing as a possibility as a way to attract teachers. Has any discussion gone further on that?
We've got so much going on, but that is part of the vision for the future. We had purchased the old fitness forum, which is adjacent to the McClanagan building, and that purchase, there was some apartments, a few apartments, I think maybe 8 to 10 apartments that were converted from classrooms to apartments. So we are just looking at some different ways to maybe fund that project, that we could come up with some affordable housing for not only for teachers but just all employees that work in our system. There are some school districts across the state that are taking a look at that, and I believe Fairfield is one that is doing that. And affordability of housing and bringing housing downtown to Florence, I think, will be a good partnership. So that's probably more of a long-term vision of what we want to do for that area, but I think it's something that's very much needed for the sustainability of recruiting and retaining our staff.
Okay. Now, last week we also had the big announcement of the Envision battery plant coming here. Is that going to have any impact on the school district in the way that maybe some courses or anything like that, or to prepare students to go to work out there at some point?
I think that'll be at some point. I know they had mentioned that there's a current plant in, I believe, Tennessee, or that they were going to go visit. So I think that might be something that we might want to be a part of, to see how and what they've done in the local school district to assist. But I'm sure there'll be some sort of progression of education that leads to those types of jobs as well.
Okay. Now, curriculum-wise, do you see any big changes or expansions going on in curriculum in the next year?
No, we're just sort of back to the basics. We want to get back to, I think, academic performance is a big thing for us. You know, we've climbed the mountain on our graduation rate, and now I think it's back to the basics on climbing the mountain to be one of the top academic performing school districts. And so we're really focused on not so much the curriculum, but just getting back to the basics, getting over COVID, and really addressing what that learning loss looked for us, so that we can become a top performing educational institution here in South Carolina.
Okay, you mentioned the learning loss. Are you guys still trying to catch students up from the loss that they probably experienced when everything went virtual? And
yeah, I think it's more individualized right now, and by grade level, and more than just a general, what I like to call the media's way of looking at learning loss. So we've been honing in on our individual students and trying to really address individual learning loss. I think math, if I was going to give a general concept, math is something that suffered during COVID, something we struggled with even before COVID. So I think math is something we're really taking a real good look at, especially in the elementary grades, because it builds. If you don't get that good foundation, by the time we get to middle school and then high school, we'll lose that. I think the only other thing that we're probably taking a look at for 2023 is early childhood. There's still a vision to have the first universal preschool and early childhood in the state, and I think that's something we're taking a look at, and how we could fund that to provide some early childhood education, because it's so important. It gets overlooked because the long-term gains you don't see for many, many years down the road, and we're in a society that we want to see outcomes now. So I think one of the things that we'd like to do is prepare Florence for the future. And early childhood really does prepare for what the future will look.
And early childhood education, what sort of age is that?
That would be 3 and 4 year
3 and
olds.
4-year-olds, okay. And what exactly do we do in early childhood education then for the 3 and 4-year-olds? Is it advanced alphabet and reading and stuff like
Well,
that?
really, we in South Carolina have a goal of having every child sort of read by 3rd grade, where sort of other parts of the country, it's really 1st grade. And I think because they focus on students have access to education at an early age, those basic foundation things prepare them for when they come to kindergarten and the ability to read. Reading has so much of a tangible effect on math and other aspects that if we can get all students reading by 1st grade, we're going to be better off long term in all areas. And so it's really to build those foundations of comprehension and reading and basic facts in math that will be the springboard to other things once they come into the system at kindergarten.
Now, this year, you guys also launched the freshman academies at the high schools for your 9th graders. And you guys are going to be sort of doing an assessment on that as the year went on and maybe do some adjustments or expansion or things. Have you guys started looking at that yet?
We really haven't, because we were trying to do 2 things. We're looking at academic progress. We wanted to see, really the 9th grade academy has been something we've been doing, which has really helped our graduation rate. If we can get a student with all their credits with a 3.0 coming out of their freshman year, the percentage of them having the opportunity to graduate on time just rises so high, and we've seen that success. So with these academies, we really are looking at the first sort of semester of grades, which will be coming out shortly. But we've also looked at discipline, and that we know has gone down significantly just by having them separated and having an opportunity to be just amongst their peers in those transition years. So initially, discipline has gone down, but academic performance, we're still waiting for some of those results to come in after the first semester concludes.
Okay. Now, the music and arts, you guys have done a lot in that in the last year or two, and you have yourself picked up some major awards for the arts and stuff. Do we have any big plans for those? I know we just got new uniforms and new band instruments for the marching bands and stuff. So
I think, again, focusing on the elementary right now, we've made such a big push for the high schools and our middle schools, especially our magnet schools, to have the resources and the courses to advance the arts. I think we're going to start now with in 2023 and the ensuing years on our elementary to sort of build along those lines. And then I think the other thing we're doing is, because we've made such an investment, our students are performing better, we've got to have this sort of efficient curriculum. So student advances from 6th grade as they go from maybe Southside to South Florence, there's a sort of a nice flow of their advancement in each of the courses. So I think we're looking at those types of opportunities. If a student takes piano in the middle school, we shouldn't be starting them over again in the high school. They'll just be advancing at a higher level. And that's ultimately what we're trying to look at, is where our kids are going to be and how we can continue to push them towards more opportunities.
Okay. So with the 2023, is there anything else that I haven't asked about that you might want to mention?
We just look forward to more state championships and just being a winning school district. I think that's, we're sort of in the middle. This is sort of a a new year, but we're sort of a school year's combination of those two. I think more state championships, more winning, just kind of shows the investment that we've made in our students and our staff, and I think that's what we want to continue as the school year progresses.
This has been Chris Day, Managing Editor for the Florence Morning News and SCNow.com. Thank you for watching.